What's up, everybody? Welcome in to the Big Man on Campus bracket breakdown of 2019. The NCAA tournament is upon us. Brackets are out. Hope you're having a great Sunday. Hope you've had a chance to take a look quickly over the brackets. We're going to have some fun here tonight, go over some things, and try to find some value as we get ready for the tournament to begin Tuesday in Dayton. That'll be fun. We'll go over some of the brackets. We'll see who has a good road, who has a hard road. First things first, really just kind of want to talk about, I don't think anyone overly got screwed. I think the only team that you can make a case that got screwed was Michigan State. I mean, I'm not really sure how they're a 3 seed. I'm not, or not a 3 seed, but they're in the same bracket as Duke. I don't really understand that. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, first off. But other than that, a 2 seed, I'm sorry, not a 3 seed. But other than that, I don't really see anyone that got screwed. I'm happy we don't have NC State, TCU, Texas. I will say this. I know you have to put teams in, and we all want Belmont in, but I will continue to ask. I don't really know how Belmont's a tournament team. I don't really see much here to warrant them being in the field. But again, they're throwing the mid-majors a bone here and saying, well, we're going to put one of you in. UNC Greenfield, they were also up for debate here. Obviously playing in the same conference as Furman and Wofford was obviously something important. East Tennessee State's a good basketball team. But the problem with UNCG is they just didn't have enough quality wins. So, but yeah, overall, I don't think I think it's a fine bracket. I don't think there were overly any teams that shouldn't be in. You can complain. You want to complain about Oklahoma, whoever, Arizona State, but again, guys, the bubble was not particularly strong as it is. You got to put somebody in. So I don't mind those guys in. What I'll do is kind of overall just talk about who has the good road and that kind of thing, and then we'll take some questions. Going to have a special guest. He's going to join us around 8:30. So we'll make sure we say hello to him in a little bit. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Retweet the show. Get it out to people that you think might enjoy it. That's always helpful. I always like to, feed the needy here, as they say. So maybe someone doesn't know we're on. Make sure you retweet the show. We've talked about that on the 5 o'clock show. We've talked about it on all the shows that we do. Make sure you support the channel. I am one and the only people on this channel. I do it all myself. So just make sure you support and do that. Also, if you're in the market for a book, check out MyBookie. They already have lines up for the NCAA tournament. MyBookie, one of the not the originator, but one of the groups getting in quickly to put in these lines out. If you're interested, you need a book, check MyBookie out. Use promo code BMOC. You get yourself a 50% deposit bonus, and you'll help support the show, which is always important. Today, you're already seeing some lines here. Fairleigh Dickinson, Prairie View A&M, they have those lines out, and they are setting the tone all March here with the line. So make sure you're checking out MyBookie. Big Man, I'm in Atlantic City this week. Yes, I'll be there starting Tuesday. So make sure you get in touch with me and say hello. Does anyone else think Dick V has lost his mind? Dick Vitale lost his mind a long time ago. Thank you, Reckless. Thanks for watching. What's up, Ryan, Jay, Southside, Jason, Dan, Matt, Norm L, saying Duke wins it all. Cash it. I don't disagree with you. Auburn got screwed a little bit. Yeah, I think that's a good point as well. Let's go down the bracket here. Let's kind of talk a little bit here. We'll start up in the East. Duke with the winner of NC Central, North Dakota State. I was surprised to see this line so high. North Dakota State, a 5.5-point favorite. That's high for North Dakota State. This is a team that, again, played very average throughout the season, needed kind of a push. And let's be honest, folks. I mean, South Dakota State plays that really poor game against Western Illinois. If that doesn't happen, North Dakota State really isn't in this field. So, give them to lay 5.5 in this game, they're going to win by 6 or more. That's a lot. We all know, guys, Lavelle Moten, a guy that knows how to win these kind of games. He's done it before. Look, I've talked ad nauseum about Lavelle Moten. He's a terrific coach. This is a team that plays great defense. And what I love about North Carolina Central is an experienced team, 18th in the country in experience, guys. That's high level. Rayshawn Davis is fantastic. Randy Miller, Jabri Blount. This team plays great three-point defense, which is important. I mean, the ever-changing landscape of college basketball is a three-point love affair. This is also a very good offensive rebounding team. That's another thing I love about NC Central. One of the better offensive rebounding teams. They're going to have a nice advantage in this game against North Dakota State. You look at North Dakota State from an experience perspective. So 18th for NC Central, 277 for North Dakota State. That's interesting. This is not a good defensive team either. They play in a conference with a lot of up-tempo, fast teams. This is going to be a tough game. This is a lot of points to lay in a tournament game against a team that has obviously motivation. They're playing great basketball. They're well coached. Look, Dave Richmond's a good coach and all, but Lavelle Moten knows how to win these kind of games. This is going to be an interesting one. But if you're giving me 5.5 points, that seems like a bit too many in this one. Either way, though, it's not going to matter because they're going to lose in the next round to the Duke Blue Devils. It's going to be a short stay for one of these teams. What are my thoughts on Murray State? Listen, guys, I'm going to try to get to all of them here. These are just preliminary thoughts as well. Whether these are plays of mine or not, obviously you'll see. But let's keep it moving here. VCU, fascinating game here. It's all going to be about does Marcus Evans play. But even if Marcus Evans plays, I like UCF. The only thing that sucks for UCF is I think the game that's going to hurt them is obviously number one because UCF can almost use Taco Fall as kind of a, it's hard to prepare for him in a day or two. When you have 5 days to prepare for him, it's a little easier. So that's obviously a knock. They need to play better because when Taco Fall goes out of a basketball game, they are not good defensively. And you saw against Memphis the other day, when you can speed it up against them, you're going to necessarily get the job done. This is a VCU team, guys, that has a nice possession length. They're good tempo-wise. They're going to present some problems to a team in UCF that wants to play slow. When you speed them up, they can be a little all over the place. This can be a great defensive game, as we know. I have interest in wondering if Jordan Evans plays. If Evans doesn't play, I have some real concerns here. Marcus Evans is their best player. He's a guy that gives them a ton. Great thing about VCU is they do have a pretty good bench. They have the ability to go to that bench at 23rd in the country in bench minutes. But there is a pretty big issue down low for VCU. I mean, who's going to guard Taco Fall? We saw in certain games this year, Taco Fall just destroy teams that can't defend against him. You look at in this conference, this is not an overly big conference, the Atlantic 10. You look up and down the roster for the Atlantic 10, it's almost exclusively a guard league. Every team is particularly good from the guard position. There are very few groups here that have a quality big. This is not a game where I feel like they're going to have a ton of experience against a big of this magnitude. You just don't see it very often. The 8-10s, again, a very guard-oriented league, a team that has some size could really bother them. This is a VCU team that really lacks the defensive rebounding prowess. They're not a particularly good defensive rebounding team. That spells trouble against Colin Smith and Taco Fall. Thank you, Jar Jar. Thanks for watching. David's talking about VCU first half. Yeah, VCU first half's been a fun thing to bet on this year. But again, we need to understand what's going on with Marcus Evans. From what I've heard, it's hyperextended. We're gonna have to see when he gets, when he starts to move around a little bit. We'll have to obviously follow that as the week goes on. Keeping it going here. Do me a favor, go on Twitter, retweet the show. Mississippi State Liberty. This one's simple for me. Liberty's not beating Mississippi State. It's that simple. We could try to be big bracketologists and pick upsets here, but the truth of the matter is this is a Liberty team that beat no team of quality. Let's just be honest, folks. They got beat up by Vanderbilt, got beat up by Georgetown, got beat up by Alabama, got beat up by Austin Peay, beat a really average UCLA team, a team that isn't very good. let's stop madness here, okay? Even without Nick Witherspoon, who I'll be interested to see what Nick Witherspoon's status is. Ben Howland has been incredibly mum about Nick Witherspoon. And again, this would be obviously a great chance to get him back. But I just don't seem to understand why Ben Howland will not discuss this. Who knows at this point? Might even hurt them if he's back at this point. He's been gone for so long. But you look at Liberty, a nice team and all, but I think it's unlikely they're going to beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State, not only this year, is terrific on offense, but they still are playing pretty damn good defense. You have to look at these matchups and say, what does Liberty do that will bother Mississippi State? I'm not really sure they do much of anything to bother Mississippi State. This is a Liberty team that couldn't beat really bad SEC teams in Alabama and Vanderbilt. Austin P. I mean, what's the evidence that you think they can go in and beat Mississippi State? I mean, I don't really see it. Quindary Weatherspoon's fantastic. Reggie Perry, Lamar Peters. We forget, guys, in that game against Tennessee, Mississippi State was quite live in that game. They played great basketball. Eric Holman had a big game for them. They're a big team with a lot of length. I think they beat Liberty. Liberty's end will be very quick. Callie McInnes, greetings from Calgary. That's great. How about that? Calgary's in the house. Love that. Listen, Dan. Dan's asking about every game. Listen, Dan, we're going to try to get to every game. There's no need to ask. Seton Hall's beating Wofford. I don't disagree. I mean, I think that's a good matchup for Seton Hall, to be frank with you. Do I think St. Louis can upset V-Tech? We'll be getting to it. What's up, John Sullivan? Matt Foster, thanks for watching. Thanks a couple of you for retweeting the show on Twitter. Brian, BitXN, BB, Documented Plays, Brad Borquin, thanks for doing that. What's up, Rich? Thanks for checking us out tonight. Let's get as many views as we can here, guys. This will be one of the more in-depth previews you'll get. We don't have 8,000 people on this show. We have one and one only. Around 8:30, we're going to have a special guest, someone that I'm sure you all will enjoy and haven't seen for a while. And I'm excited to chat with him for a little bit. I'm going to try to get Barstool Reeves on this week. We're going to see to get him on, maybe Greg Peterson as well. We're going to try to get as many good people as we can. Maybe Mike Randall from the Action Network, all good friends of mine. We'll see if we can get those guys on. I would recommend, guys, if you could check out the show with those guys that we're going to do, make sure you do it. Maybe we'll try to get one on for each bracket. That'll be interesting. I'm a big Barstool Reeves, Greg Peterson, and Mike Randall fan. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. Bobby Miller's in here from Brazil. How about that? What a great place to be right now. Could you imagine waking up, you look out your window, and you're in Brazil? You got a beautiful Brazilian woman walking by. Life's good for Bobby Miller. How about that? Who do I have winning? Well, Jesse, you'll have to keep watching the shows to find out. FSU wins the West, says Sherry. Sherry's a big Florida State Seminole fan, so I do appreciate her passion. Good for that. Good for her. I don't know if I agree, but they're a good basketball team. Thank you, Ben G. SP to Ghosts, Montreal in the house. Shout out to the Montreal group. Hawaii's in here. A lot of people. Thanks for checking us out. Let's keep it moving a little bit. I'll tell you what, guys. This will take forever if we go through every game. We're not going to do every game, but we will by the end of the week. I just want to highlight some other games here. LSU Yale. It's an interesting game here. I've talked about LSU. I'm not a big fan of. I think they're way too dependent on getting into the lane. Here's the problem, though. Yale University will run with LSU. I'm going to be very interested in the total when it comes out. Both these teams are going to go a mile a minute. Both these teams are particularly good from a tempo perspective. You look at LSU, both on offense and defense, very quick, 70 possessions a game on average, which is very good. You look at Yale, Biaoni is terrific. Don't let Yale sneak up on you. Yale is a team that can knock off LSU. And if you're going to give me – if I'm getting 8-9 points here, I'm thinking around 8, which if that's where we are, 8. I'm looking at Yale. I think Yale is really good. Here's my problem, though, with Yale. Okay, I want to explain some things with Yale. Okay, so they gave up 109 to Memphis. The game went to double overtime. Give up 79 to Vermont, give up 91 to Duke. They're going to give up a lot of points here. It's just how they play. They play real quick. They speed you up on defense. There's going to be a ton of points in this game. A lot of people will point to the factor that Naz Reid is going to destroy anyone that Yale has. I'm not so quick to say that. Jordan Bruner's a good player. Paul Atkinson as well. Jordan Bruner, great rebounder. Good block percentage, grabbing about 6% blocks per game, which is pretty impressive. I'm not so sure that LSU is going to run away with this. I don't see it. I'm definitely interested in the total in that game, though. But yeah, if it's only 8, that's a bit too low for me. I need 10 or more in that game if I had to play it. Thank you, Isan. Very nice of you. Thanks for doing that. Who's my upset? Listen, Jesse, settle down, man. We'll get to everything. Just sit back and watch, Jesse. No need. I'll give you an upset. What else do we got here? I got too many fucking Twitter open here. Belmont Temple, playing game on Tuesday. Excited to be in Atlantic City for this one. Obviously, being a Temple fan, should be a good crowd down there, I hope. I don't know about Tuesday, but it'll be nice to watch it on the big screen. Temple's got a tough game here. Belmont's a good team. They have Dylan Windler, obviously. My big thing on this game, and I think it's quite important, will Nick Muszynski play? Nick Muszynski is a player for Belmont that is their big. He's their guy down low that really does a ton of great things. And Temple's big problem is their bigs. I will say Justin Hamilton's playing a lot more, and I like the move by Fran Dunphy. Justin Hamilton's been giving the Temple some great minutes. He's a lot quicker than Ernest Aflakpee. Ernest is a good guy as far as rebounding and being able to be physical. But Justin Hamilton's kind of that stretch 4 or 5 that can go out and hit a big shot. I like what he can do. If Nick Muszynski doesn't play, I think Temple's a live dog in this game. Belmont's not a great defensive team. They do a good job inside the half court, but Temple's really got it figured out from the three-point line. Temple's got big guards. I think that's going to be an obvious key here with a guy like Windler. Muszynski is important. If he's out of this game, that's going to be a big loss for Belmont because I do think Temple is exploitable if Muszynski's not in there. I would wait if you like Temple. This is a game where I think you're going to get more points. People love Belmont. They're all over Belmont. They love backing Belmont. Belmont is seemingly the trendy group. Which region do I think is the toughest? That's a pretty simple one to me. The toughest region to me is the West. I think the West is stacked. A lot of really good teams in this conference. Not conference, region. Obviously, you have the number 1 seed in Gonzaga, who, look, I mean, Gonzaga really shouldn't have any issue getting to the Sweet 16. They'll beat Baylor and get to the Sweet 16. That's where it's going to get interesting. Florida State is a fascinating team because they're so long and athletic. They can go so deep. But with Killian Tilly back, I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to beat Gonzaga. But the problem that Gonzaga has is you're going to have to get through. Now, listen to this group. You're going to have to get through Florida State, Marquette, Texas Tech, Buffalo, Michigan, or Florida. That's tough. That's real tough. That's the toughest region to me. The easiest region I'd probably say would be, I don't know. I mean, the Midwest is pretty easy. Virginia North Carolina should pretty much cruise. I think the only concern North Carolina would have would be I do believe Wofford is a team that we have to talk about that can make a run. Wofford's really good, really good. They have one of the best players in the country. The whole starting 5 is legitimate. Storm Murphy, Hoover, Cameron Jackson. They're well coached, but if I had to play an upset, let's do that. We'll go through some upsets here. Midwest. If I had to go for an upset, I'm going 12-5. New Mexico State against Auburn. People say Auburn got screwed. I think they also get screwed with this matchup. New Mexico State's a really good basketball team. They're a team that is always very good defensively. That's one thing that they were under Marvin Menzies. Now under Chris Jans, they're absolutely fantastic. They haven't lost since January 3rd. They only have 4 losses on the season, and 2 of them were against St. Mary's and Kansas. They're terrific in the half court. They're terrific defensively. They rebound the basketball. I mean, you talk about a great rebounding team. New Mexico State, I mean, they are downright stingy on the glass. 8th in offensive rebounding percentage, 4th on the defensive glass. This is a team that in Auburn that can't defensive rebound. They're 330 in defensive rebounding percentage. This is a New Mexico State team that will hang around in this game. It's that simple. They're too good defensively. They're too good on the glass. And Auburn, as we know, okay, guys, this is important. Auburn is extremely reliant on the three-point shot, one of the more reliant teams in the country. You look at Auburn offensively, okay, from a 353 team perspective, they're 7th in the country in point distribution from the three-point line. They are very dependent on that. This is going to be a New Mexico State team that's number 3 in the conference in three-point defense, 108 in the country. They're good enough. They have long guards. Chua's terrific. He's a guy that can get out there and guard those kids. They're great rebounding, as I said. This is an interesting game, real interesting game. You look at the line in this game. Auburn, as many said, is getting a bit screwed here. I wouldn't disagree. I don't like the seed for Auburn, and I don't like the matchup for Auburn. This is a tough game. If you're going to give me 7.5 points for New Mexico State, I'll take the trendy dog here. Is Memphis in the NIT tournament? I'm not sure. The NIT tournament bracket's not out. Sorry. What else do we have here? Kentucky better not overlook Wofford. They definitely won't. Definitely won't. As far as 5-12 matchups, that's really the only one I like. I don't think Murray will beat Marquette. That'll be a high-scoring game there. John Morant's going to have to drop 40 probably in that game. I think Oregon can beat Wisconsin, but I'm out on Liberty and I'm out on Marquette. Or I'm out on Murray, sorry. You're talking college kids. Any team can be beat. Yeah, we know, Mike. Thanks. Thanks, Mike. Mike says any team can beat any team. Well, thanks. We didn't know that, Mike. Thanks for offering that up tonight. We're all smarter knowing that. Thanks, Mike. No, I'm just kidding. But thanks for watching. We know, Mike. We know any team can beat any team. We saw that last year with UMBC, didn't we? UMBC gets hot, and look what happens. They beat the number 1 defensive team in the country. He's right. He's right. But while it is genius, he is right. Any team can beat any team. But we're just kidding, Mike. Don't get mad. In the past, people will get mad at those comments that I make. Really just fucking around with Mike. Don't get mad, Mike. You seem like a nice guy. Mike's going to get the breaking the balls treatment right now. A lot of people are busting his balls a little bit. Our guest will join us in about 5 minutes. We haven't seen him in a while. I'm not going to say who it is until he joins us. I'm sure you guys will laugh. Just put it that way. Big men, start up an NCAA pool. I already do. I already have one. You must have missed out on it. Matt Madu, Old Dominion over Purdue. Listen, I love Old Dominion. Love what Jeff Jones is doing there. Jeff Jones has prostate cancer currently. And, it's a great story. I had them to win this conference, plus 320. They're really the cardiac kids. They had 2 wins by 2 points or less. Beat out West Kentucky yesterday night. It's a terrific game. Here's what you got to know about Old Dominion, guys. It's real simple. They're extremely slow from a tempo perspective. They're not very good offensively. In fact, they're almost heinous in the half court. They have great guard play with Stith and Caver, and defensively they're very good. That's always what they do under Jeff Jones. Purdue, though, I think will be a tough matchup for them. And I'm saying this for one reason. Carson Edwards is fantastic. I love what Harms and Trevion Williams do down low. I think Boudreaux is an interesting matchup. Ryan Klein as well. I just think Purdue's just a better version of Old Dominion, and that's kind of my concern here. I don't have a lot of confidence here in Old Dominion. I think for Old Dominion to win, they're going to have to get unconscious from 3, which they can do. But Purdue's a good rebounding team. They're really going to kind of neutralize them on the glass. Old Dominion does shoot the 3 pretty well. Again, I think the only way they can hang in this game is to make a lot of threes. And look, that's how a lot of teams hang in games. At the number that it's at, I think it's a 12.5 or 11.5. Let me get that number up here. And I am looking at mybookie.ag for all the lines. If you need a line, MyBookie, use promo code BMOC when you open your account. Get yourself a 50% deposit bonus. You're getting 12 at Old Dominion. You got to hope they dirty that game up and it's played in the 60s, like a 71, 61 type of game. I think Old Dominion is good enough defensively to hang in there, but I wouldn't be going on anything less than 12. What else do we have here? Does St. Mary's deserve a look for run? No, they're not going to beat Villanova. Villanova is, I think, going to beat them at their own game. Is Mick going to pound beers when he comes on? I don't know what the hell you're talking about, man. Some of you guys, I have no idea what you're talking about sometimes. Who did we have in VCU game? We don't have anything. We discussed it and said that it's all going to be about – listen, guys, you're going to have to rewind. We already talked about that game. Not going back and talking about it. I filled my first bracket out and had all ones making it to the Final Four. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. Will ASU St. John's beat Buffalo? I say yes. I say no. I say no. Mike Lowry, he's back with another great comment. Just don't bet the house. Remember, college kids. Listen, Mike, don't tell us how to bet, all right? We're all adults here, all right? We get it, Mike. You're trying to save everyone the hassle. We know what we're doing, Mike. If we didn't want to bet, we won't, okay? Thanks. Pete Loshak. No, Pete Loshak will not be on. John Rothstein, no. I would kill myself. Mick Alsey, please, God, no. None of you will guess who the guest is. So let's just wait for the guest to come on. He should be on any minute, and we will have some fun with him. What else do we want to go with here? Feel free to send in any questions. How about that? Let's go to questions. If you have a specific question, where a team's going to go, are they going to make a run? Feel free to send those in now. We will talk about those and get to a guest. Northeastern Kansas. I like Northeastern a lot. I think Vyasa Pusika is terrific. The great ball screen offense that they have with Bill Cohen there. Kansas better look out. They really better look out. They really struggled down the stretch. This is not a great basketball team. This is one of the worst Kansas teams in a while. I think they're kind of a live dog here. Do I see Maryland getting past Belmont or Temple? I always hate that question, but you have to kind of pick up beforehand. So I'm going to say no. I think they're too young. Is it Blackjack Fletcher? No, it's not Blackjack Fletcher. It's not Donnie either. It's not Gabe Morency. I'll actually be with Gabe Morency this weekend, though, down in Atlantic City, which will be fun. I'm sure we'll do some shows. Me, him, Cam Stewart. I always like talking to those guys. It's Mike Brenner. No, it is not Mike Brenner. Scott Van Pelt. I wish. Yeah, listen, Mike, Larry, we don't need you to let us know to have fun. We get it. You're like the dad at the baseball game that says, listen, kid, it's okay. Just have fun. Well, listen, Mike, sometimes we want to win and be get the glory. Sometimes it's about winning, pal. And we're all gamblers. We know what we're doing here. Is it Greg Peterson? No. Is it Ian Cameron? No. Is it Maxwell Smart? No. Is it Tim Donahue? I don't know who that is. No. Is it Dickie V? No. God knows it's Dickie V. I would really kill myself with. I couldn't listen to him anymore. Can we do a quick Nevada, Florida rundown? Yes, we will in a minute. Is it Jay Cryer? No. Is it Tweety Dimes? No. Tweety Dimes isn't winning right now, so he wouldn't come on. He only comes on when he's winning. And even when he's winning, it doesn't come on. No, he's not coming on. He's welcome to come on, though. Jimmy the Bag? No, it is not Jimmy the Bag. Bill Walton? No. Howard Stern? No. Barry McCocket? No. None of you know who it is. None of you know who it is. Yes, I'll be at the game in AC. Yes, I'll be at the Ocean Resort. Stephen, please come. Is it Donald Trump? No, it is not. Hopefully, he joins us. Is it my dad? No, it's not my dad. We will get back to a couple games here. I'm just waiting for my guest to join us. My thoughts on Texas Tech Buffalo. It's a good game if it happens. Texas Tech is very good defensively. Listen, I just don't think Buffalo is good enough defensively to make a run. That conference they play in is bad overall. They're going to get some quick and tough tests here. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. You look at Texas Tech. I mean, I think Northern Kentucky is a tough matchup for them, but they'll get by it. Buffalo's going to have to play St. John's, I'm thinking. St. John's can score. Shamari Pons is great. But no, I don't think Buffalo will beat Texas Tech. No way. If Oklahoma Ole Miss is a coin flip, I'm struggling with that one. Is it a coin flip? No, I think Oklahoma's a bit better. Just my opinion. I love the way they defend. Ole Miss, it doesn't do much for me. I said they'd be a bit of a bet against team the rest of the season after the first half, and they were. Sonny Vega, no. Joe Colombo, no. Joe Colombo's dead. Okay, listen, guys. Let's not confuse ourselves here. Don't put the NIT games in here, guys. I don't want to. I'm not trying to confuse myself here. What's the best sports book in Atlantic City? It really depends. Ocean Resort's nice. Hard Rock's really nice. Trop's nice. They're all nice. Borgata's not great right now until they build a new one. But no, you didn't say anything that wasn't positive. I didn't say you said anything that wasn't positive. You're fine. We're just busting your balls, bro. Take it easy. You just keep saying how you keep telling us how we need to not bet a ton of money and it's all fun and games and it was just funny. That's all. You didn't say anything bad. No, you're fine. Am I filling out an NIT bracket? No, probably not. For what? I'll just bet the games. Michael A's got Oregon in the Elite Eight. I don't disagree. What is a catamount? A catamount is like a type of puma. It's like a cat. It's similar to like a mountain lion or like a puma, something like that. A cougar. It's a beautiful cat. It can be found in America. Are they in Vermont? I think they were at one point. I don't think they are anymore. But they are a cat of some like. Montana has no shot if Ako remains out. I agree. They actually got Michigan last year. It was a much lower number. Last year, I think it was like a 10.5 for 11. Now it's like 16.5. That's a lot of points for Michigan. Montana's not a bad team. That seems like a bit too many points in that game. Guest is having issues. Hopefully he joins us here. Always irritating. What is the best free bracket to fill out? I'm not sure. I don't really do them. ESPN has a good one. Oregon is horrible. They're lucky to even be in the tournament. Explain that. They won the Pac-12. What are you talking about? What? What do you mean they shouldn't even be in this tournament? What do you mean by that? They won the Pac-12. It is not Donnie. Donnie's not joining us. When will USC Upstate make the big dance? Probably never. Listen, it's not my point that it's garbage. They get a bid and they want it. I mean, the MEAC's not particularly good either, but they get a bid. Did I see Justin Robinson's coming back? Yes, it's a big deal for them. He's their point guard. He's their do everything. It's a big deal. It's big that they're getting him back. I guess I put my headphones on, or I'm not going to be able to hear our guest, who should be joining us any minute. Minnesota, Louisville. I like Minnesota. What a great matchup that is. Minnesota, whose coach is Richard Pitino, whose father, Rick Pitino, will probably be there against his old school who fired him. That's interesting. Wisconsin has a bad matchup. I agree. Beat up, too. Kenny Wooten's going to hurt Ethan Hatt. Tough one. What's my opinion on St. Louis against Va Tech? My opinion is Virginia Tech rolls. Oh, the Joys Alive show sometimes. Yeah, the Conference of Champions. It's always irritating, isn't it? Yes, LSU not having a coach is a big factor. Definitely a big factor. It was a big factor the other day. How good of a coach was Rick Majerus? He was terrific. Great coach. Do I think any noteworthy programs will be firing any coaches soon? That I'd have to look at. I kind of have to re-look at who had a bad season. I don't know. You got to see what's going on with Sean Miller. That's interesting. I mean, he's not going to he's not going to get fired because of his antics on the court, because he's a great recruiter. But again, you got to wonder if he gets fired due to his issues. This is really brutal. I hate not being able to have someone that can do this for me. When you're doing a show and you got to teach people how to get on the air, it's rough. What do I think about UC Irvine? I think they're really good. I think UC Irvine's really solid. I think they're a team that can beat K-State. They're going to have to find a way to score. If Dean Wade's back, I don't think UC Irvine will win. They got to hope he doesn't play. If he doesn't play, I think they have a real chance. Yeah, Danny Manning should have been fired a while ago. Lavelle Moton's not going to UNLV. Not going to happen. Who's my team? I root for Temple. I don't have a Final Four yet. I believe our guest is here. He's the king of offshoreinsiders.com. It's Joe Duffy. Joe, how you doing?
Oh, Jeff, big man. I thought it was crazy. I got a new computer. I was trying to connect here, and I had too many block-ups. And oh my goodness, it's been a while since I used Google Hangouts. I apologize for all that, but I thank God I got so many computers here, and I kept trying to connect and this and that, and got a different angle. And luckily, I'm fully dressed and all that other stuff. But boy, oh boy, a lot of work getting on here. But thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you're not on much anymore. I talk to you once in a while. It's good to see you, Joe. Always been a while. You're looking healthy. I know you're probably eating some great food down there in Atlanta. But so let me ask you, Joe. You're a big analytical guy. When you fill your bracket, what are you looking for?
Well, the ironic thing is, Jeff, I'm not a huge bracket guy. I know I've said before where I don't like to bet futures because I like to adjust each and every round. I will fill out a bracket because, a couple of the sports books I send business too. They give us a free bracket. I do like teams that have good inside games and can score from inside. And I think, it's one of those things where a lot of people always talk about guard play. I think that's a perfect example of inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning, where a lot of teams have good guard play. They don't necessarily have a good inside game. And I do find that that's really a difference maker, a team that can score from inside. I just like teams that can score, period. It's no shock that the first team that was ever eliminated as a number 1 seed against a 16 seed was a Virginia team that just didn't have enough scoring. And I do like quickness. I also like teams that are generally freshman heavy, especially in recent years with the one and done. I know years ago people would always talk about the importance of experience. I agree with John Wooden. Even way back when, he said, just give me talent. I'm not worried so much about experience as I am talent. And now with the one and dones, teams like Kentucky every year, they're obviously a team that's that reloads, and they're a team that I look for. And I also like to look at, and I haven't really had a chance to break it down, but I'm a big believer in that one of those hidden edges is what I like to call the neutral court advantage, teams that are playing closer to home. I know Cincinnati, as far as that's concerned, got really a great draw where they're only 2 hours from Columbus. So teams that are definitely playing close to home, teams that can score inside, and really just teams that can score. And usually I like to go against these phenomenal defensive oriented teams, like a team like Wisconsin. They can score inside, but then again, they don't really have a lot of scoring. So they're probably a team that I just don't think they have enough scoring. They're a tremendous defense, but I think they're the type of team that's could be this year's Virginia, where they just don't have enough offense. And I like to fade teams that are more defensive oriented than offensive oriented.
Yeah, you make a good point about Wisconsin. I've made a habit this year, Joe, of going against them when they face a team with a good big man, a team that's physical, a team that can body them down low. Because if you watch them, generally very Olay, they don't play a lot of physical basketball. And a team like Minnesota was able to beat them. A team at Western Kentucky was able to beat them with Basie down low. I think Oregon could be a tough draw for Wisconsin due to the fact that Kenny Wooten, Paul White, Okoro, all those guys can really bang with Hap down low. I think you made a good point about the bigs. I really like that comment. And I actually discussed that with the UCF team, UCF with Taco Fall. While I like VCU, they play in a league that, Joe, I think if you ask yourself who the smallest league in the country is, you look at the A10, always have teams that are very undersized. It's a real good guard league, but they don't see a lot of mammoths like Taco Fall very often. And without maybe their point guard, that could be a tough game. You mentioned a team in Cincinnati. Cincinnati obviously should be able to beat Iowa. Iowa can't defend at all. I think Fran McCaffrey's a fucking loon. He always has and always will be. But Tennessee's going to be tough. Tennessee can do kind of everything you said. They can score inside. They have good guard play. They're a great basketball team. That's obviously an interesting put with Belmont as well. Their big may be out for the game. So, all this stuff is important. Joe, let me ask you, I know you use a lot of systems and things like that, a lot of schematic-based models and things like that. You mentioned the close to home angle. You look at teams that are not close to home. St. Mary's, they're going all the way to Hartford. That's going to be a tough one. Have you kind of zeroed in on some of those matchups that you can maybe let us know about here?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those cases where I will certainly take a closer look tomorrow when my database is in there, but I am definitely going to break it down to see what the biggest travel matchups are. And yeah, I watched that game, St. Mary's. They obviously looked phenomenal the other night against Gonzaga, but they played some inspired ball. And you're right, that is really a tough trip going.
Joe, you have to admit, though, I mean, we have to remember with the St. Mary's Gonzaga game. I mean, Gonzaga literally couldn't make anything. Okay, yes. They could have played, the Hickory Hawks from Hoosiers, and they would have lost. They just didn't shoot well. They had every advantage in the world. They just couldn't shoot the ball well. It was just a tough game.
Now, we were talking about that. I was actually at a sports bar, and they definitely had some very good looks. And it's one of those cases where a lot of people do overreact to what they watch, and a lot of people are watching that game, and they might wind up jumping on the St. Mary's bandwagon. But, I'm not one of those guys that's going to do it. And as you said, they've got to go across country. Another thing I should have mentioned when you asked me, I know you're not a big fan of Ken Pom when it comes to either. I don't necessarily like the fan match, but some of his stats I like.
I will say, Joe, quick before you mention that, I think this year I used it a lot more for stats and stuff and from a schematic perspective. But I do think there are certain things that are jaded with it, but continue.
Now, I was going to say, when I look for some of the dark horse teams, I like that luck factor. And the luck factor basically is, and I really like it, quite frankly, a little bit more from a spread standpoint than I do from a standpoint of picking your brackets. But I think it's good for picking the brackets because the luck factor basically says a team that's won a ton of close games has been lucky. A team that's lost a lot of close games, they've been unlucky. And I do think that for the most part, the unluckiest teams have the biggest upside. The luckiest teams have the biggest downside. So at least according to that statistic, the luckiest teams have been Georgia State, not too far from me, Cal Irvine, Kansas. Some of the unluckiest, which means I think there's some potential dark horses, will be Florida, Louisville, Iowa State, and then you mentioned Oregon. Now, again, I'm not saying that I blindly like that, but that's my single favorite stat from Ken Pom, and maybe even, like I said, more so from a spread standpoint, because when we're talking about picking point spreads, we're not really worried about who's going to win, but who's going to cover. And I do like the luck factor as far as finding really good underdogs.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I actually wanted to bring that up. I know you look for that stuff. Florida's a team that I've bet on a few times. I had them the other night against LSU. I had them late in the season against LSU. And frankly, I'm pretty irritated I didn't take them against Auburn. Listen, I like Florida a lot, guys, and I don't like Nevada at all. I think Nevada is a fraud, and I'll continue to say it. This is a Florida team that has a nice mix of young players and obviously upperclassmen. Kayvon Allen, terrific guard. Their three-point shooting has been phenomenal. I want to point that out. Nevada is a team that for large parts of the season has had issues at times defending. I think they're a good defense. I don't think they're a great defense. I'll be interested to see how that one kind of performs. But as Joe said, this Florida team could be a lot higher from a ranking perspective. They had a lot of tough, close losses this year. Obviously, they were to take care of a good team at LSU the other day. Joe, before we let you go, give me kind of one other thing you're looking for. Obviously, the luck factor is good. Some great points here that can kind of be undervalued.
Yeah, and it's so cliche. It's kind of a contrarian team, but I actually like to find out who the media is loving. The media has been all over Belmont. I know everybody was saying that they were going to get screwed, and now they've become the sheep team. And it's just one of those cases where once the media starts either jumping on one team or saying this team didn't deserve to make it, I like to go opposite of them. But, this year's been a big difference where I know that people like Allen Boston, they can be happy where some of the smaller conference teams got in. And I got to be on a big strength of schedule guy. I do think for the most part, the dark horses are going to come from, whether it is a team like Florida, the number 5, 6, 7 teams from the conferences like the Big Ten or the ACC or the SEC. So as far as the best dark horses, I still think they're going to come from the power conferences, even though things have evened out in recent years with the power conferences being most affected by guys leaving after the freshman, sophomore years, et cetera. I still think you're more likely to get the dark horses from the bottom of the power conferences than you are the top of the mid majors.
Yeah, one other thing that I'll point out, a thing that I look to a lot is, especially when you get into tournaments like this and you look for a team that can make a run, and I always liken it back to a few years ago, Joe. I don't know if you remember this team. SMU had a team with Shake Milton and Sterling Brown. And I remember the big thing coming into the season into the tournament was how good this team was. But the one knock was their depth. They have no depth. Depth is important. You got to have a bench. I mean, if you don't have a bench, it's going to be hard to make a run. And that's why for me with Michigan, I have a lot of concerns. I mean, they don't have much of a bench. Nevada is a team that doesn't have much of a bench. A team like Iowa State doesn't have much of a bench. I want to focus on those teams if I'm looking to make a run. If I'm looking to a team to win the NCAA tournament, I need a bench. you have to be able to play a lot of games in a short amount of time. Florida State, obviously, they make a lot of runs. They got a big bench. Also, experience. Joe, how much do you put into that experience? The experience.
I actually don't. No, I'm not a huge fan of experience. I do think that when you're talking about maybe some of those mid-majors that can go deep, teams that have been playing together, that's a good thing. But, I mentioned at the top of this, a team like Kentucky that's peaking at the right time. But you do bring up a good point about depth. I know you're a big Temple fan, and that's one of the reasons I think John Chaney never had that much success in the postseason. He'd always, go 3-4 deep. He didn't have much of a bench. I know he had that one year where he went to the Elite Eight. I was actually at that game against Michigan State. But yeah, there's no question having depth is important. I still think maybe you got to go 7-8 deep. I don't know if necessarily going 9 or 10 deep is important, but yeah, once you get into some foul trouble, you got to have some guys who can score off of the bench.
Yeah, another metric that I that I definitely look to. Look, I've talked about free throw percentage. I mean, it's very simple. If you don't make free throws, you're not going to win games. It's that simple. You look at today. I get into a bit of an argument with the much heralded Donnie Rightside, which I thought he was dead wrong. I loved the strategy by Mark Schmidt to foul St. Louis. St. Louis is one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the country. It worked out well. They had a shot at the end to win the game. You have to be able to make free throws in this league, in these leagues, and in this tournament. You look at a team like Duke. You look at a team like Michigan, Houston, Virginia, Texas Tech, Gonzaga, all good free throw shooting teams. You got to be able to make your free throws. If you're looking at these teams and you're saying to yourself, can they make a run? That's what you got to look at. You look at free throw percentage, Joe. The worst free throw percentage team in this tournament, North Dakota State, 339th in the country. That's a concern against an NC Central team with a lot of experience. I think in the first game that's important. They kind of been there before. They're well coached. Coaching's important. But for me, Joe, it's 3-point defense anymore. You look at the ever-changing world of college basketball. 3-pointers are more sexy than scoring into half court. There isn't any secret that some of the best teams in the country are right up there in 3-point defense. Duke, Michigan, Houston, Virginia, Texas Tech, Gonzaga, Kansas State, UCF, all these teams very high on that. I need a team that can guard the 3-point line, Joe, because with the ever-changing college basketball, you got to be able to defend the three. Iona's going to give up 100 points in North Carolina. Mark my words. Iona's going to get absolutely destroyed defensively in this tournament. Joe, before we let you go, I want to kind of give you an opportunity to plug. But I want to, before do that, I always get asked, Joe, to do the impression of you. Do you like my impression of you, or do you think it's not good?
It was great. I even when you did it one time, I made a copy of it, put it on my personal Facebook page. I thought it was actually pretty funny. It's hard to tell. I guess I listen to myself sometimes. On tape. Maybe I should have my daughter. She does a pretty funny impression of me, but more so my isms than my voices. But no, go ahead.
No, I got the mic here, Joe, so I'm going to do it. It's we go all the way back to the Scorephone days. It's Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com.
Yeah. Well, my kids used to make fun when I did the videos in the early days. I caught that's back then you used to say www a lot. I don't know why. And once or twice I noticed I forgot to say the dot, so I kept overcompensating. I would say, it's Joe Duffy, www.offshoreinsiders.com. So my kids were jumping all over that. But
yeah, you definitely have been around. And for anyone that's new, doesn't recognize Joe Duffy or hasn't seen him, Joe Duffy was one of the original. Many people think I was one of the original SBR video people. No, it was actually Joe Duffy. Joe Duffy was one of the original people at SBR as far as the videos. But you look at the ever-changing SBR, the great Peter Loshak not there anymore, and none of us are either. It's always a changing world, Joe, but we remember you back those days. Where can we find you, Joe, and what do you have going on for the tournament?
Now, I'm at offshoreinsiders.com, and like I said on my Twitter feed, there's nobody who knows the personnel better than the big man on campus. I'm a little bit different type of handicapper, not opposing theories, but I look at it from a different perspective on my advanced analytics. I do a lot of computer stuff at Offshore insiders.com. And yeah, you'll have to let me know. I'm a little curious about what is going on over at SBR, maybe off the air. Yeah, it does seem that there's some big changes there. And a couple people have actually asked me, but you know better than I would. So maybe we'll talk off of the air or something.
Sounds good, Joe. I always enjoy talking to you, and maybe we'll have you on in the middle of the tournament or something. I have to. We got to link up soon, Joe. Someday. Hopefully, I'll run into you down in somewhere near Philly. I know you're a Philly guy, so Joe, thanks for taking a couple minutes coming on. Have a good tournament.
Thank you, big man, and sorry about all those technical issues.
No
I just have to use this computer next time. But all right, thank you, sir.
See you, Joe. Thanks, buddy. Joe Duffy, offshoreinsiders.com, checking in. Yeah, Joe was one of the original SBR video guys, even before I was there. It was Joe, and it was Brandon Shively. He was there, and a couple other people as well. Joe's been around a long time, but doing it, I think, for as long as I've been alive. Joe's been doing it a long time. All right, guys, we'll look to wrap the show up. We've been on for about an hour here. I gave some good info so far, kind of what we're looking for, some good matchups, and we'll be on throughout the week. Maybe we'll get Barstool Reegs on or Greg Peterson at some point. Big man, do you care about quantity of free throws or just free throw percentage? Look, obviously it helps to shoot a lot of free throws, but free throw percentage is the most important. If you're going to be put on the line, which in the ever-changing college basketball landscape you will be, you got to be able to make free throws. It's that simple. I need a team that can make free throws. All right, guys, I am out of here. All of you have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back probably Tuesday will be the next show. I have to see. I'm not sure. I'm going to be traveling Tuesday down to the to Atlantic City and stuff like that. So we'll figure it out, but we'll be on throughout the week. Make sure you subscribe and don't miss a show. Have a great night and see you next time.